Hello everyone. In this video we will cover a small introduction into the Jinja2 template designer for Python. Jinja2 is a fast and efficient template designer for Python programming. It allows to automatically generate web templates with that have dynamic elements inside that can be passed along from your Python code into your web template. It's particularly useful in the context of web applications in Python, as it allows to separate the Python code and the HTML coding. The Python code is in your Python document, while the HTML codes will be stored in the HTML templates, so that you don't have to mix up both of them. And the Jinja2 templates, in the Jinja2 templates, you can your functions and objects which allow you to write code with a similar syntax to Python. This allows to integrate dynamic elements from Python that will change depending on your input from your Python code. And in order to do this in this template, there are three delimiter types that can be used. You first have the curly brackets and percentage, which is for statements, so for tests, for if clauses, for loops, for example. Then you have the double curly brackets, which is everything that is to be printed in the template, so that will finally be rendered into the template. And then you have the curly brackets hash, which is for your personal comments. And the advantage of Jinja2 is that it allows the use of functions, for example, if statements and for loops. And you also can use inside of the templates Python objects, for example, dictionaries or lists or so. I think the easiest way to see how this works is to have a practical example. So I already prepared some code where we want to set up a little web application that adapts dynamically depending on the content and the variables I define here in my Python code. In order to set this up, you have to import Flask and set up the web app in Flask. I think there is a separate video covering this topic, so I won't spend too much time on this. And also you have from Jinja2 you have to import template. So first I instance the app with Flask, then I define for the page output a function, and in this function I define two variables, in this case output dictionary, where I define some numbers, and the user. Then I will instance the template or the Jinja2 object. So I open my template, I will instance my template as a Jinja2 object. So I will open the template, which I have saved locally on my computer, and I will instance it as a Jinja2 object. And then I can apply the function render from Jinja2, and there in this render function I then can pass along the variables I want to use inside of the template. So for example, I want to use the result dictionary, which is equal to the output dictionary from my Python code. I take the user. Also can define variables directly in here, so variable, for example, results. And this one here is also for setting up the app on my local server. If I've done this, I can now write my template. I already prepared a structure with some basic HTML tags, And there we can start, for example, that we want to have in the title. We want to print the variable variable. And I do this by putting two curly brackets. It's mandatory to leave a space between the curly brackets and whatever you put after. And you put variable, so my variable, and I close it with two curly brackets. And I close also the HTML tag. Then we go in the body, and there we define a title, so we can first put some text, output for user, and then we put here the variable user, again with curly brackets. And then I want to create a table that has as an input the dictionary. And since I don't know the size of my dictionary and the exact form, I create a for loop. And here we go. So close this. In the for loop, then I will open a row. And column. There we can then open another row and print, for example, our variable key. I have to close the HTML tag, and I can repeat this here. So I don't want to print on the key, but I also want to print the value. And then we want to set up another dynamic element, and we want to put in an if condition. So for example, if value, so the value from the dictionary, is higher than 10, and then we can print again something. We print higher than 10. And if it's lower, so I'll just say else. We say it's lower than 10. And we have also to close the if condition. So and if. Then to close the column in the table, so I close the HTML tag. Then I have to close the for loop that we defined, just by and for. And the table is closed, body is closed, HTML is closed. I can save this. We can try it out. So we will start the application. I go over here, so I put a hyperlink to the output, and there is an error. But this is actually also quite a good feature of Jinja, as it allows quite good debugging, and there are some error codes that will show you where the error in your template is. And so, for example, I get here the error message that it expect token in and go to rest dict. So somewhere where I use the dictionary, there's an error. So if I go back here, I see that I forgot the in, so I will correct this. And I don't have to run it again, I just saved it. And here we see there is the output is generated, And now we can also see how this behaves when changing. So what is the dynamic aspect? So when we change, for example, the input parameters and we put another element into our dictionary. And I restart the app. And I reload here. Then here we have another line. And so here you see which is what the big advantage of Jinja2 is, that your Python code can come up with different input variables, and the template that is rendered will automatically adjust, and the content that is displayed can automatically adjust. I hope this gave you a short introduction, and thank you for watching.